Hey, everybody, welcome to the first attempt at making a podcast called It's Racecar Time. My name is Neil Baxter, aka Nab, and this is my buddy Peter, aka Minty.
Woo! I'm
Woo!
here. We're doing it.
Yes, we're both here. We're somehow doing it.
It's race car time.
Yeah!
We're talking about race car things.
Yeah. Let's first just talk about why we're doing this, because
Man, did we even talk about that?
The background story is how we met. We both worked at the same car dealership, and I was always sitting there at the end of the day when it was slow, just watching race car videos, and Peter Minty was just doing nothing because there was nobody there, and he would just come over and start watching race cars with me. And so that's how we started just talking about racing and stuff. And we hung out more, and then we're like, oh shit, we should just do this as a podcast, because we think we're entertaining. You can let us know if we are or not, but we think we are.
That's just a big fat no there, Neil.
Go fuck yourself. Oh yeah, just so you know, this is definitely not for kids.
Yes, this is a very
I
PG-13
guess
and up.
I should. No, I've already said fuck 4 times. I think you're only allowed 2 fucks in PG-13.
Oh, this is an R-rated race car podcast.
Yeah, this is definitely R-rated. It's gonna get weird, but I mean, we both worked in an automotive shop, so let's be honest.
Yeah, we do have quite a bit of yeah. It's like the discussion with locker room talk, being like, "Oh my god, guys in the locker room are crazy." Shop is completely different. Well, next, whatever, you get it.
Next level.
It's up a notch. Certainly.
So, essentially, the reason why we wanted to do this now, we actually wanted to do it earlier in the year, but then coronavirus came in and kicked everyone's ass.
Yeah,
and there was no racing to talk about.
Yeah, this concept bred out of us screwing around, going to races together, and eventually decided that, hey, we should do this as a podcast sort of thing at where were we? Road Atlanta for the Petit Le Mans 2019.
In 2019, that's where we came up with the idea, and we're like, hey, starting next year we should do that. And I think I was just too busy, so we weren't able to get it started for the Rolex 24.
That's right, yeah.
The Daytona 500. I can't remember why we couldn't set it up for one of those. But then once St. Pete came around and it looked like racing season was gonna start. I remember that whole Thursday. I know I watch more racing every single day than you do.
Yes. And
that whole Thursday, I was just like, won't they race even with or without fans? And by the time that they finally pulled the plug on everything on, I think it was Thursday afternoon, is when they finally said, nope, okay, we're just not running anything. And yeah, so NASCAR, the original plan was to run without fans at Atlanta, since they already had everyone there. But because they didn't know how bad it was, they canceled. And IndyCar was the same down in St. Petersburg for their first round. They even had their first practice session and everything, I heard. And then they got canceled. Why are you looking around like you got a ghost in your room?
Well, I'm monitoring this monitor, double checking that monitor that's recording this. And then I've got another monitor over here I'm checking as well. Just balancing levels. So,
we're figuring all this shit out. Okay.
It's inaugural. It's like that for the start of a thing.
So leave us alone. Click like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or just...
Actually, speaking of what they were, what you were just saying, they were talking about, will they not begin racing without fans there. And I know that's kind of coming back around with...
Yeah.
I think Formula One's in the middle of discussing that, and I know Lewis Hamilton made some comments on it, saying I think it's a travesty to not have people there, but at the same time, he understands that it's you can't get that close together. It's in the middle of, the possibility of just continuing this BS spreading. And I think he doesn't want to race without the fans, but at the same time, he wants the races to go on. But at the same time, he understands why they can't. It seems like it's just going to be an absolute shit fest until, this all kind of boils over.
Yeah. At this point, I think all these series that are trying to decide if they want to go on with fans or without fans, should they just cancel the race season altogether? Honestly, at this point, it's mostly just about survival. If you wind up canceling everything, you don't have any money coming in whatsoever. If you cancel like most of it and just run some of it, at least you got some money coming in.
Yeah, I guess that kind of is like the talk of the moment, is because it's like, obviously they can do the races and not have anybody show up, so they're not making all that ticket attendance and people buying merchandise and food and all that stuff. So they're losing money there, and they're paying people to go out and race, versus if they were to just cancel it altogether, they don't have to pay anybody. They're not losing money because they're not doing anything.
But did they have the money saved up before this happened to be able to survive through it? See, that's one of the big problems.
Multi-million-dollar companies here.
Well, so like what I was about to bring up, it looks like DTM is probably going to fold now because of this.
Oh, wow.
So since Volkswagen Audi Group is running out of a lot of money, Audi is pulling out of DTM, so that leaves only BMW as the only manufacturer. When before they had BMW, Audi, and Mercedes, and then last year they tried to have Aston Martin, but that failed miserably. So because they've pulled out, it really looks like DTM is probably going to fold. So that's at least one race car series that is probably going to fold because of this.
Do you think it's going to fold altogether, or do you think they're just going to postpone it until next year?
I bet it's probably going to fold altogether, but that's just my guess. Because if anything, maybe Audi can sell their cars to customer teams, and then so you could have a field of just Audis and BMWs, but that's only going to be like 16 cars, and then the BMWs are still going to be developed when the Audis aren't going to be. So eventually it's just going to be like DTM1 and DTM2. It's who's going to win in a BMW and who's going to win in the Audi class. It's like two-class racing.
Right.
But it's never really been that.
I think that'd be less entertaining as well.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily there's a million
there's other series. There's other series in Germany that I think could take over the mantle as DTM, even if they don't take up the name. There's ADAC, ADAC GT Masters, which races GT3 cars.
Right.
They also have a TCR series there, but TCR cars are just not anywhere near as cool as DTM cars. But DTM cars aren't really touring cars either, so they're essentially Formula 2 cars with bodies on them.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I can understand why that would be expensive, especially just considering the amount of money that they plow into that. Because like you were saying, I mean, touring cars in and of themselves are just like, all right, we made a front-wheel drive race car. It's not more than, what is it normally, 300, 350 brake horsepower.
Yeah, something like that.
Throw some guys in there, let them fucking slam into each other, and see who comes out on top.
Like the previous V8 version of DTM car made 800 horsepower.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, front engine, 800 horsepower, had the same ground effects and downforce as a Formula 2 car, with the driver in the middle. And then they went to that spec chassis with developed bodywork that I think I heard a stat. Let me look it up here if I can find it. The annual DTM expenditure that Audi did was almost as much as the Formula 1 team. Now, granted, that's for a third of the field, but still. Yeah.
I guess we could look that
listening to a guy Google.
Oh yeah, we can
That's
do a
great.
new segment, speed typing. Let's see who holds
Speed
the
typing.
record.
See who can Google the fastest.
We'll just make everything racing, not just like racing events in cars. Just everything's racing now.
So like a few weeks ago, they announced the program is around 20 million euros. Oh, that was for Aston Martin. Audi and BMW were spending between 30 and 50 million euros on their DTM programs.
Jesus Christ.
So that's for an entire field of DTM cars, you're looking at about 120 million euros.
God, that's insane.
If anything, if they could do anything, so like DTM and Super GT, they have joint the Super GT series in Japan has the GT500 class, which they joined regulations a couple years ago to run the same cars as the DTM cars. So GT500 in Japan has the same rules as DTM.
Wait, Super GT or GT500?
The GT500, yeah. The series is Super GT, and then there's GT500, which is essentially Japanese DTM cars. Yeah. And then GT300 underneath it, which is GT3 cars and a couple other things mixed in. If anything could save DTM, it'd be that. Is getting some like Lexus and Honda and some of these Japanese teams to send a couple cars over and run in a DTM race.
Right, so let
and maybe do your own merger with the GT3 series in Germany and say, hey, why don't you guys come and be our GT300 class?
Yeah, that could be interesting.
So you don't have to have 20 DTM cars. You're going to have 10 and then another 10 to 15 GT3 cars,
right,
or
run them
GT3-ish cars, and just run them together, essentially copy the Super GT formula, but just do it in German. That would be the only way I could see that they could survive it. But who's going to convince Nissan, Toyota, and Honda to save a German series?
Yeah, that really is a question. I don't know if they would find it worthwhile, because even if they were like, well, we'd be happy to, help you out in like saving the series, but we want our own cars over there with our own drivers and our own teams instead of just like selling the cars. I mean, that's just going to be a massive throwaway on money just to be able to get cars over there and get
just
them
to
back
get cars
in time
over there
for regular Super GT
for the
races.
Super GT series.
Yeah,
they're just going to concentrate on Super GT.
Yeah, I don't see that
what
happening,
they could
but
do,
it might be plausible as far as saving DTM goes.
Yeah, so we'll see how that happens. So that's like one series that's been screwed.
Yeah.
So far, I think all the other ones are doing okay. Like IndyCar, they've released their preliminary schedule. They're going to start, I believe, in June at Texas Motor Speedway, which is probably going to be insane since there's like a bunch of rookies that have never driven on an oval before, and they're going to go to one of the fastest racetracks. So that'll be fun.
Surprise, fuckers! Here's something different for you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be fun, just to see them just like full throttle straight into turn one at, I think now they get like 230 going into turn one now.
Oh my god.
Not like the old kart days where they would be going like 250. Actually, during this quarantine, I've been watching a lot of old races on YouTube, and I found the race program of the kart race, the Champ Car World Series, when they went to Texas Motor Speedway. But then they canceled it before the race actually started because the drivers were going around the corner so fast they were blacking out in the middle of the corners.
Yeah. I heard stuff about that too.
So like they were going like 250 and they were going like above 4G through the corners.
Just
And then they were just passing out in the middle of the corner.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear about that happening to pilots, but they're in the air. That's the difference.
Yeah. I mean, and they have autopilot. Like, they have, like, more things that could possibly save your life.
Yeah, potentially. Although, autopilot doesn't work in a corner. It only works in a straight line. But yeah, I get what you're saying, though. There's a lot of other...
But, they have more systems on a plane that'll keep it from falling out of the sky. I mean...
Oh, that gives me an idea. We should propose to the U.S. DOD, the Department of Defense. We need airplane races, not like we're doing time trials through a circuit. No, just like top speed races across the U.S. Because
so like gumball, but so you win
in like a fighter
like
jet.
How you're racing it. Yeah, like how everyone's like beating the gumball record from New York to LA.
And everybody's all mad about it being illegitimate because there's no one out.
And it's like now sub 26 hours, and now like the U.S. Air Force is just like, fuck you guys. We'll get
our
there
F-15s do 1,200 miles an hour.
Well, like the SR-71 Blackbird. How fast that thing goes? Like a couple miles. I think that could probably do it in like 20 minutes.
Probably like because it flies. Hour. Because the SR-71, keep in mind, that was made in like the 60s. I mean, that's a Cold War era plane versus some of our fighter jets.
I'm sure they have something now
I think
that we don't even know about.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
goes much faster.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think there's a reason we now have a Space Force. It's because we already have spaceships.
Dude.
They're just not letting us know.
Fucking Space Force memes are the funniest thing on the planet. Swear to God, bro. Well, the Killer Wasp thing that's going around right now, right?
Oh, yeah, that's so stupid.
They're talking about using the Space Troopers. Wait, what's that? The name of the movie where they go
Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers, where they go and kill all the massive bugs and shit. They're like,
finally,
Space Force has something to fight.
Yeah, that's one of the best, that's one of the best bad movies ever.
I honestly love the whole series. It's great.
I only know the movie. I don't know what you're talking about. Series.
They made like 3 of them. Or the whole series of movies. Yeah. There's like 2 or 3 of them.
Oh, shit.
They're all amazing. Like, equally as good as the previous ones. It's so good.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Okay. I just like the fact that there's Neil Patrick Harris in that.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't he in the first one? Yeah, he's in the first one, and I think he's the guy who got his head blown off in, rookie training.
Mm-hmm. So good. All right. Enough about
hilarious
movies. Race cars.
Okay, race cars. Another weird thing.
Okay.
So NASCAR is kicking off tomorrow night. This is Saturday the 16th.
Yep.
So it's kicking off tomorrow night at Darlington. No fans in attendance.
Yep.
They're also not practicing or qualifying.
Oh, just going straight into it?
Yeah, they're not doing anything like that.
You think they're going to have cardboard cutouts of fans? Just put them out?
No. Actually, the NFL has been talking about doing that.
Well, I heard they've been doing that with, German soccer series.
The Bundesliga? Yeah, Bundesliga. They're actually doing that?
Yeah, people will, the season ticket holders, someone's running a service. I don't know if it's through the stadium or through the team or what, but someone's running a service where they, take a picture of the person that owns the seat, and then they'll have them, cut out in Photoshop, and they'll put it on a piece of, cardboard or something and put them in the seat, and everybody's like, yay, racing, and they're, holding up flags and stuff.
If they did that at a NASCAR race, I would intentionally dress up for the photograph as the most stereotypical NASCAR fan that I can.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
that would be
let's be honest, I kind of already look like the most... I'm already close to the most stereotypical NASCAR fan.
Yeah, you're option number 2. Number 1 would be some jorts, a cut-off t-shirt, and a mullet.
I actually was wearing a tie-dye Superman wife beater earlier.
You fucking would.
Of course I would. Why wouldn't I? Fuck it.
You're like, I'm home. I don't care.
Yeah, and my AC's not working, and it's hot as fuck because we live in Georgia. Yeah. Just so you know, people. Yeah. We live in Atlanta, so it's hot as fuck down here. Which they finally announced when they're coming back to Atlanta, but no fans.
Yeah. Well, it's not like many people cared about the Atlanta race anyway. At least nobody in Atlanta really cared.
No, I mean...
It'd be people from, like, Alabama.
Ever since that they changed the car, when they went to the car tomorrow, the Atlanta races started getting pretty boring. But we can like start talking about like what kind of series so people can get to know more about us. I started watching racing when I was a kid. My family's from Indiana, so we would watch a lot of IndyCar races. I started watching the Indy 500 with my dad every year. He's not as into racing as I am, but that's how I started. And then growing up in the 90s, I became a NASCAR fan because Jeff Gordon raced sprint cars and midgets in Indiana, and then he went to NASCAR, and so that's how I became a NASCAR fan. But right now, I would say my favorite is sports cars.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think sports cars are probably my favorite at the moment as well. I don't remember when my racing interest really took off, as far as, getting into watching it as a hobby at the very least. I don't really remember when. I've always been into cars since I was, absolutely minuscule. But I don't remember where I started. I don't even know what my first race was, so I don't remember. I had to have been freaking tiny, because my dad's been into it his whole life. And naturally, he gave that all to me, and his dad before him as well. But, yeah.
So, yeah, you came from, your dad liked racing, so.
Yeah.
My dad, he liked it just because he was from Indianapolis, but he wasn't, diehard. He sees me now, he's just like, Jesus.
You've taken this too far.
Yeah, essentially I'm just like that. My wife says the same thing. She's like, oh God, you got another race to watch? I'm like, yeah, and it's 24 hours. She's like, what's wrong with you?
Nothing, we're drinking.
Nothing! There's nothing wrong with me!
Yeah, I don't remember going to a ton of races with my dad. I know we've been to plenty, but I don't specifically remember going to a ton. But now he is more about it than ever. He follows IndyCar all across the country. He makes a point to go to a lot of different IMSA races throughout the year. I know he's been out to Formula 1 in Austin before. I don't remember when, but I know he's been out to that.
I've been to the U.S. I've been to the U.S. Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway twice.
Right.
One was the inaugural year, and then the other time was the year that only 6 cars started. And everyone went apeshit and started throwing things on the track because they were pissed off.
Right, where everybody went to boycott it, and there were some teams out there that were like, "Nah, I think we want to race."
All the Michelin, all the teams running Michelin. Essentially, Michelin didn't do any tests or preparation, and even they saw that they ground the track down to smooth out the turn 1 on the oval.
Right.
But that.
You are cutting in and out pretty hard.
And their tires couldn't deal with, and their tires couldn't handle it. But Bridgestone actually, I don't know if they tested there, but they did simulations or something, and they figured out that we can do this to their tires and they'll survive. Michelin didn't do that, and so Michelin got whiny because they would have had done 6 pit stops.
Yeah. Where the
Bridgestones, I was like, and so they're like, no, we gotta boycott the race. I'm like, well, you're the ones who came in prepared, so.
Yeah.
Go screw yourself.
On them at that point.
But, yeah. They were saying it's a safety thing. Yeah, it is a safety thing because you're obviously going to lose. You might as well just suck it up and lose.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess that's kind of what they did. They just said, well, we're going to lose, so we're just going to park.
Well, I guess by taking the forfeit, they're not burning through parts and...
that's true. Because back then there were tests. Back then, there weren't testing restrictions.
Right.
So, back then, they were like, oh, okay, well, we can just go test and test and test. Nowadays, I don't think Formula 1 teams would give up the testing, just the chance of being on track, because I think they're only allowed 3 tests a year, and it's all in the off-season. I think there's one at the end of the year for young drivers, where it's not a current... You can test, but you're not allowed to have a current driver in the series. So like you would have to get
I know what
you'd have to get your like Formula 2 driver. You can't have Sebastian Vettel do it.
Yeah,
so you have to get
right.
Nicholas Latifi or whatever.
Someone that knows the ins and outs of the car, but it can't be somebody that could be getting an advantage.
But
in an actual race.
Whatever your reserve driver is, or your up and coming, your Sebastian Vettel from 10 years ago type of thing.
Right.
Or your Charles Leclerc. I'm pretty sure he did it like 5 years ago, and now he's gonna be the lead man at Ferrari. It seems like. Have you heard about Sebastian Vettel leaving Ferrari?
Yeah, I heard he was doing that. Daniel Ricciardo might be leaving.
Yeah, he's going to McLaren.
He's going to McLaren, that's right.
Yeah, but that's next year, not this year that technically hasn't started yet.
Okay, I just saw him talking about like potentially retiring or being able to go back because he believes the team that he's with now just doesn't have the chance of winning because of car issues.
Yeah, Renault? No.
Yeah, Renault.
Renault has zero chance in winning.
Yeah, I mean, I think we.
But I would say McLaren has zero chance in winning either.
True, but Ricciardo's a top tier driver, so as long as they can keep the car going, there's a chance. Yeah. But I mean, then they got to face down the beast that is Mercedes and the Red Bull.
Essentially in Formula One, Mercedes, Ferrari, or Red Bull. That's it.
Yep.
Those are the only ones that could possibly win a Grand Prix. That has nothing to do with constructors or drivers' championships. That's all Mercedes.
That's the biggest fan base. You can't beat it.
Yeah, and the biggest budget. And did you see any of the testing before it all got shut down with Mercedes having their new adaptive steering control? Did you see the videos from that?
I didn't see any videos, but I have read 1 or 2 articles about it when they first announced that they may or may not be using it. I haven't seen anything
it was weird.
Visually off of it, but
I don't know if it was just for a testing thing, but it looked crazy. Like you could literally see when he came off the corner, the tire just scoot in a little bit.
Right. Just
like after he was already going straight. And it's just like, that.
Man.
I honestly wish, here's one of the things about Formula One that I dislike, is Formula One should be the top technology thing. But they keep adding things on it that make it more difficult for these massive budget teams. Like, McLaren or Mercedes and Ferrari are going to spend the money. So let them spend the money. And like when we got rid of adaptive, when Williams came out with the adaptive suspension, I said that was in the 80s sometime.
Yeah, it was
and then that immediately got banned like the next year. But now you can go out and buy like any McLaren. I think every McLaren has adaptive suspension now. Like even the 570.
I think pretty much every supercar, just in general, at this point, has some kind of.
But a Formula One car, no, can't have that. That's illegal. I'm like, no, let them have that shit. Like, I want to see a freaking spaceship. And I mean, they already are kind of spaceships. Like right now, they kind of like putter around, sounding like Jetsons cars.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of what they sound like.
Some of the fastest, most controllable vehicles on the planet. But that begs the question: is at what point is it? You know, you could put anybody in the cockpit because the car's driving itself. Essentially, at what point is technology too much in adaptive or not adaptive systems, but assist systems in general that make it to the point where it doesn't even matter, how talented the driver is because he can't make any mistakes because the car's fixing it for him. I mean, hell, you could underpay some kid coming out of Formula 3 and be able to, put up a competitive run because there's just so much assisting inside the vehicle.
That's true. That's a good point. All I know is that I think there should be more technology driven.
Yeah, of course.
More to like they've pushed it back a lot. I do like DRS, but I think it should be larger. The DRS system. I don't think it should be like, oh, okay, you're only within 1 second. I think they should have full like adaptive aerodynamics like the freaking Koenig, not Koenigsegg, the Pagani Huayra.
The
I
Huayra?
don't even
Yeah,
know if I'm
fucking
saying
love
that.
that
The
car.
Huayra, where like the
Beautiful
wings
car.
just go like that.
Yep.
I want a Formula One car like essentially like that, and that's what I thought maybe the hypercar in WEC was going to be like. But now since they've released the rules for that, obviously it's not going to be anything like.
Right.
And now, since they're joining in with IMSA to do the LMPDH, so it's essentially going to be it's going to be it's going to be the DPIs with a spec hybrid system added on there.
Right.
And then Toyota is still doing a hypercar.
That'd be fun. I wonder what they're gonna enter
Yeah.
as far as a hypercar goes. Because I didn't see anything
still,
with them doing it, but
yeah, Toyota, they've already developed. They already started testing before all this happened. Their hypercar, because hypercar was supposed to start in WEC next year.
do we know what platform it's going to be based off of? I would imagine the Supra.
It's still prototype.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still prototype, but it's a high. It's. I think it was supposed to be hybrid.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. I don't think it's based on a production car at all. That's the whole hypercar concept. Like the Glickenhaus.
Right.
I think that's the only one that's developing a street car version of their hypercar.
Okay,
which
so
is
it's
gonna
not
have
like a prerequisite that there has to be some kind of a base model that anybody with enough money and standing with the manufacturer is able to purchase, like you can.
It's not
with
like the
any
old
other
GT1
hypercar at the
days when
moment.
you had like that Mercedes CLK and the Porsche GT1 and those kinds of cars.
Right. Okay. Because I was under the impression that it would be like everything in the supercar series, at least with, like IMSA, just as our home sort of, mixed racing series as far as the top echelon goes, WEC cars, stuff like that. I know everything with the supercars, they're based off of, a production car that you could potentially afford or potentially buy, if you could afford it, of course. So you'd think, hypothetically, the hypercar series would be the same, although I haven't read into the rules yet myself, so I can't say for certain. Just, based off of the fact that it's, a hypercar, unless they're talking about a true hybrid supercar, which is not a hypercar, then...
Yeah. So apparently, you remember the Toyota GR Super Sport concept? It came out in 2018?
That was based off the LFA, wasn't it?
No, it's actually literally it looks like it's actually set up on top of the TS050 hypercar, the current LMP1 car that they have, and they've put a different body on it. So that's probably what they're doing. It's literally just taking their current LMP1 car and just sticking a car-like body on it.
Yeah, you're right. Here, I'll pull up a picture for the video.
It's got a 2.4 direct injected twin turbo V6 with a hybrid. So total horsepower is 986 horsepower or 35 kilowatts.
Yeah, okay. No, if it's like a step down prototype series, then I am okay with it. I love the prototype cars. I think they're all sweet, and I think that's something that we need to keep doing. So if it all turns into cars like this, I would be more than happy for it.
It looks like this is going to be pretty much the only one. It seems like.
I will have to see.
This or Glickenhaus, like this against a bunch of DPIs, where they're going to add a spec hybrid system to DPIs.
Okay, yeah, that could be cool too. Even just if this is the next evolution of the DPI, then that'd be sweet too. Because DPIs are just the coolest thing on the apps. It's just the coolest thing on the fucking planet, hands down.
I love DPIs.
Name a truck guy that wouldn't buy a fucking DPI if they could afford it. Like everyone would want a DPI car that is interested.
I really wish that they have more customer. Right now, the only DPI that they're releasing as customer DPIs is the Cadillac. That's the only one anyone can buy. You can't go buy an Acura or a Mazda from Penske or Multimatic and run it. The only ones that are selling is Cadillac. So there's like 6 Cadillacs and then 2 of each of the other ones.
Is that what they're doing to assist on funding with Oh no. I'm thinking of completely different. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, cuz the Stampede cars are customer bought DPI cars that they race.
Yeah. I think all of them are technically bought. I think the only one that could be considered a factory Cadillac, they either not the Mustang sampling because they left actually.
Did they really?
Action Express. Mustang sampling left that team. So now Action Express, the team that won the Petit Le Mans last year that we went to, in the Wheeling, the 31. The 31 is still there.
Okay.
But their other car, the 5, is technically a different team now. So them or Wayne Taylor.
Right.
Those are the 2 factory Cadillacs. I would say even more to the Wayne Taylor because that's the one that Jimmy Johnson goes to and Jeff Gordon, all the like Chevy drivers from NASCAR or IndyCar, they all go to the. Well, I shouldn't say that. Sebastian Bourdais goes to. He lost his IndyCar ride for this year, and he was supposed to race with the JDC Miller, the yellow Cadillac.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Fair enough.
So moving on to the next topic, have you been watching any of this e-racing that they've been doing between all these series?
Yeah. I've been not as much as I would have liked to have, but I have been, prodding my nose in there, here and there. I know even today there is an e-prix for the Formula E series online.
Yeah.
I think I saw that on Twitch. Yeah, I was on Twitch. But I mean, pretty much almost every single series has, converted over to like iRacing or some other kind of direct simulator, which I think is going to be super interesting.
I've seen Assetto Corsa. I've seen R Factor 2. That was the thing that I used to be really into with sim racing, but I stopped with essentially with R Factor 1 was the latest game that I ever played. Just too much of a time suck. Like they were even talking about that in the NASCAR sim racing. Denny Hamlin, he's won 2 of the races, and then I think Bowman has won a couple races, and Timmy Hill won a race. And Timmy Hill is a Craftsman Gander Mountain Outdoors truck driver. He put down like 100 hours of practice for the race that he wound up winning. That was the biggest time suck because these guys, obviously, they're not doing anything. They're practicing all day, every day, leading up to like an hour and a half race. You practice 36 hours for an hour and a half race because you can. You're not spending a bunch of money on tires and fuel and that kind of stuff.
You don't have to worry about the car braking. I mean, if anything, it's way more beneficial for getting these drivers up to spec as far as, having reaction times down, getting used to these roads that they're going to be driving, or the courses they're going to be running.
Tracks.
Yeah, the tracks you're going to be running.
Well, I kind of like how they've actually decided to branch out. Like IndyCar, they did an iRace from Spa. Right. So, like, IndyCar's never going to run Spa. But they decided to run Spa.
I think it's a great
idea. That's cool. And then they ran, for like kind of throwback, they went back to Michigan where Dale Earnhardt Jr. raced at Michigan in an IndyCar in iRacing. He finished 4th. And they also went back to Twin Ring Motegi Oval. So that, like, going back to older tracks that, like, some of them don't really even exist, since they haven't gone back to twin ring Motegi ever since the oval portion of that track got damaged from the that tsunami came through and had all those earthquakes in the area. Apparently there's damage to the oval, so that's why no one races on the oval anymore. They just use it for parking for Super GT and MotoGP and that kind of stuff,
right?
Or Super Formula.
I think it's a great idea altogether. I mean, we're seeing a lot more interest in racing as a sport as well, with the fact that, one, these races are taking place as an esport professionally. It's an esport. Two, now we're getting major esports news coverage from that as well. So you were seeing it pop up on esports news websites and YouTube videos and stuff. And one of the things that they've noticed is a lot of people are, getting personal with the drivers because they're watching it not only in the race, but they'll watch, streams of practice or whatever. So you'll have all these fans in the stream and drivers reacting to them, and you're able to interact with the driver in that sort of way and become more interested in the series. So I think racing is growing quite a bit just from the amount that people are watching it now. You get to watch professional racing done by professional racing drivers from anywhere in the world and be able to be at the level of hearing, a driver's opinion. I think that's incredible. It's something that's never been done before, or at least not previous to 5-10 years ago. And now it's taken off more than ever.
I think actually Joseph Newgarden, I've seen he has a YouTube channel where he posts all his practice races, and it's essentially just his Twitch stream that he's recorded and then posted onto his YouTube channel, and he's 2-time IndyCar champion, and he answers all the questions, which is actually one of the things that is kind of detrimental. If you could say anything is detrimental about it, is that he says the iRacing cars, the tire modeling is not accurate enough for actual real practice. He says you're not able to do the same amount of slip angle is what he was talking about. You can't lean on the tire as much as you can in real life. So he's thinking that he might develop some bad habits by doing all this iRacing. But I'm like, yeah, you're a professional driver, man. You'll figure it out after like 5-10 laps. But that was one of the questions somebody asked about, like, how good is iRacing? And he was like, it's not so good.
I mean, I feel like you can really only simulate so much. And to the point where we're getting to physics
like household
and tire wear
racing.
But I mean, even
also like on a household, like it's not like the simulators that they have for setup and that kind of stuff. I think GM has an entire server room is running their simulator. It's not a household gaming PC. Like it's a completely different thing. But there's talk of actually doing it as a winter series. Like IndyCar has talked about having a winter series.
I think it's a great idea.
But the whole problem was like, well, we don't want to add more races to the schedule. And so after this, they were like, why don't we just make it an an iRacing winter series? We'll do 5 races in the winter when you're technically supposed to be off, and just run a couple races during the off season.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to keep the drivers on their guard, because the teams are obviously going to be working in vehicles in the off season. So anytime you can keep the driver continued going without harming the vehicle, and obviously they can go and test in the actual vehicle or whatever. But the idea of like being able to do, off-season testing and racing and practice, I think it's just going to be beneficial across the board. Plus, they can dress that up essentially however they want. So but racing series that get in touch with the developers of e-racing games will be able to be like, hey, so, we want our sponsors in here. How do we pay for that? Or the sponsors can pay to get in. Or, say you do a Christmas Day race or something where it's purely for fun. They can just dress up the entire track.
That's a good idea.
They dress up the entire track with, like, every fan is wearing a Santa Claus outfit and fucking... Now they can add snow features, like a just for fun kind of a race. Man. You know what I'm saying?
Like I've watched some of the World of Outlaws Make a special
Right.
World of Outlaws version instead of it being dirt. It's snow.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Snow and
Like
ice.
for winter. Oh, just dress up Eldora, make it look like a Christmas Wonderland.
I think it would be amazing.
That would be fun. I mean, it's East.
Especially
It's
if they get their
not real,
rally
so why not?
drivers. Oh, no, rally doesn't
Oh
take
yeah.
off for the winter. But that would be funny too. Is put rally drivers out there
Well,
on like
I
a
mean,
dirt
rally
track
still
and
has
rally
winter.
cars. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
now.
they kind of still like take off. Like they pretty much only have 2 rally events. It's just Monte Carlo in Sweden,
right.
and they still take off Christmas. Like so,
Yeah.
I don't know when the last WRC. Now I don't know if any of this will work this year because now pretty much everyone's racing series is going off into October.
Yeah.
Like IMSA, their last race is going to be the 12 Hours of Sebring, and that's going to be Halloween weekend. And so instead of doing their little LMP3 and GT4 race that they've been doing, they're going to do the 12 Hours of Sebring.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
Sebring's a good track.
I'm so happy racing's coming back this weekend.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude, it's been so not cool not being able to go out and do stuff in general. But like,
yeah,
sitting at home bored, and I've been playing an absolute ton of video games. You can check out my Twitch for that.
Same.
But yeah, it gets to the point where it's like, man, dude, I just miss being able to go out to the race.
Just going outside. Even like
outside,
that was the one thing I don't like about the e-racing that I've been watching is that there's something about like the engine noise from the game just isn't the same. Like it doesn't get my blood flowing in the same way. Like when I hear "Gentlemen, start your engines," and then I hear the engine start.
Okay, well that could be a number of different things. Because I know the sounds they have in game, they just recorded off of the actual vehicle, so it should be accurate to the vehicle. Although, I mean, you're talking about data processing,
and then streaming, and then putting all that onto all that information onto a broadcast.
Yeah,
it's
not
just
to mention
the
you could just have
shitty
speakers at home too. That could also have something to do with it.
I mean, that's
audio quality is going to have a ton to play in with that.
But all I know is that when I turn on an actual NASCAR race, even if it's one of these old ones on YouTube, it sounds flippin' fantastic. So
fair enough. Yeah.
Even on my shitty speakers, and yes, I agree with you. I got shitty speakers.
Oh, I wasn't attacking yours personally. I'm just saying anybody with shitty speakers isn't going to have true to life sound quality. I think I would do okay, but my speaker system's fairly outdated. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway,
there's something about
factors that play
how the actual microphones picking up actual loud engine is being lost.
Yeah, and I think you really won't
get
exactly.
Actually, like how you were watching Formula E, I think Formula E is probably the closest to its original form because Formula E doesn't make any
noise the whole time.
Well, there is a noise, but it's like even more
drone.
Jetsony than the Formula One cars.
Jetsony.
I mean, yeah, it's Jetsony. Come on.
You're talking about the show,
That's
the Jetsons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to make sure I got you right.
With the robot maid.
Yeah.
And all that.
No, I know the show. I used to watch a shitload of that. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't know the Jetsons? I mean, that's what the frickin' Formula E cars sound like. Which everyone who considers themselves a true race fan, I hate that. Hates Formula E because there's no motorized engine.
Stupid.
I think that's just bigotry. That's just bigotry. Because I like the racing in Formula E.
Oh yeah, no, it's super exciting. I love the whole power up.
So Formula E, have you kept up with what Formula E's doing in their plans for coronavirus?
Other than just playing it in iRacing, not really, no.
Yeah. I've kept in touch a little because I just want something to come back.
Oh, yeah,
Formula E's plan, because they started very early on in this season. I think they've had 6 races so far.
Right.
And I think their television contract requires them to do a minimum of 12. They were supposed to have like 15 this year.
Okay.
So they only have to do 6 more races. One of the ones on the schedule was Berlin, which they could possibly do. All this would be without fans. They've said that. They said if they finish the season, it's going to be without fans. We'll see if that's true for every single series. But do like 2 races in Berlin on their regular street course that they run. Well, I say street course, but it's a course that they make on a airport runway. It's the same freaking airport from Civil Avengers, not Avengers, Captain America: Civil War. Same runway where they have that big airplane fight. That's where they have that race every year in Berlin.
Okay, so here's a question. Do you think they're going to force them specifically into, having to go out and race with no fans just so they can get the TV privileges? Because I know for a fact NBC is broadcasting e-races now. Fox is. I know ESPN is as well. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, NBCSN was in on it, too.
I think that's the main reason I think that's the main reason why any of these sports, like, even if we talk about, like, non-racing, the reason any sport is trying to come back right now is so they can get the TV revenue.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's better than getting no revenue whatsoever.
Right. But, I mean, hypothetically,
that's the main reason.
Push really came to shove and we get a whole second wave of this bullshit, just show the e-races on live television. Why not?
I mean, they probably will wind up doing that. For some reason, we get a second wave. I'm hoping we don't, but I mean,
of course
hopes
not.
and prayers and wishes and hopes and prayers and wishes and kisses or whatever bullshit you want to. But
obviously, prayers go out to the people that have actually suffered because of this.
Yeah, like one of the races they were supposed to have is New York, and for Formula E, that's not going to happen.
There's no way.
No way. New York is destroyed. That poor city.
The city finally sleeps, is what I've been hearing.
Oh, shit. That's kind of
just people
sad.
Inside, away from each other.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it makes sense, because they're one of the most highly congested areas in the country.
Yeah.
Same thing with, like, L.A. Atlanta's doing pretty much the same. Now, the outskirts of Atlanta, I can say, are not. They're a bunch of fuckheads still driving around and going about doing stuff, going to parks. They're just fucking idiots.
Yeah.
But inside Atlanta, no one's going outside.
No one's going out. I'm kind of on the edge of Atlanta.
Yeah, you're a little bit
and
closer
it's
in than
fairly. Yeah, I'm closer. So I'm just like right on the outside of Atlanta. So I guess on that sad note, we should probably end before we get even more dark if we start talking more about the coronavirus. More.
Racing podcast. Maybe
racing. Let's
maybe
talk about
fighter
racing.
jet racing, but
well, speaking of, we were talking about jet racing. I was going to bring up the Red Bull Air Race series, which I actually like that. That is kind of freaking cool.
I think it's cool. I've seen clips. I have never caught it while they were doing it live.
I don't think they put it on TV live. I've never seen it on TV live. They always do like 1-hour highlight programs.
Oh, okay, that would make sense. Yeah.
Like you can go to the event. Like they had it at Indianapolis Motor Speedway once.
It seems cool, but also really stupid at the same time. Because who wants to fucking do one of these to watch a race? Oh, this is great! My neck doesn't hurt at all.
I think they actually require like a certain altitude limit. I don't know how all that works. I am not a plane. I mean, I think planes are cool.
Of course,
but
sweet.
I don't know anything about them.
I mean, most people don't unless you're super rich or you're working with a company that does aeronautics of some kind or,
yeah,
something along those lines.
Okay.
Anyway,
I think we'll have more to talk. I think we'll have more to talk about once racing starts,
yeah,
which
closing in
luckily
on
is
an hour
tomorrow.
Anyway. Yep. More to talk about NASCAR taking the plunge. Bunch of dumbass rednecks going into. Man, I didn't know anybody that's been affected by this.
Man.
We're going straight into it.
Oh man, we didn't even get into Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson saying the N-word on his Twitch stream, and then getting fired. And then
he got straight up fired? Wow.
Yeah, he got straight up fired.
Well,
he got suspended from NASCAR. He got suspended from NASCAR indefinitely, and Chip Ganassi fired him and replaced him with Matt Kenseth.
Jesus Christ, what a fucking idiot.
And then Darrell Wallace Jr., he rage quit on one race, the race at Bristol. He was like, that's why I don't like to play video games. Whatever. And so I quit. The answer was like, well, we don't pay for quitters or whatever.
Yep.
So he lost like a 10-race sponsorship because he rage quit.
Fucking idiot.
So like e-racing has had like actual, and also let's talk about the IndyCar. I'll bring this up too. Santino Ferrucci going all stupid. I don't know if
you are cutting out so hard right now. You are cutting in and the fuck out.
Yeah, so are you. So, okay, let's just, I think our issue anyways. Thank you for listening on YouTube. We'll go somewhere. Hopefully this all worked out. If not, we'll just do it.
I'll do the sign out again because it was like, YouTube. I'll do it again. Thank you for turning into the inaugural episode of It's Racing Time. I've been Minty. That's our boy Nab on the screen as well. Or, well, over there. That's Nab. It's been a great time having you along. We're going to try to keep this up later. If you're going to be watching this later on YouTube, please drop a like and subscribe so that way we can get that channel rolling. And hopefully we'll be able to do some live episodes at some point going into the future. Once we get a little bit more notoriety. But it's been great having you along. I think we're going to sign off now and, keep an eye out for next time. Thanks.
Peace.